Welcome to Gutter. This is Will Sanchez. I have two very special guests tonight. The names are Julie Weiss, better known as the Marathon Goddess, and David Levine. David is the author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Marathon Training and is Julie's husband and running coach. Julie is one of the people that's highlighted in the video, The Spirit of the Marathon 2. I'm thrilled to have Julie and David on the show.
Thank you.
Great.
Before we get started on your quest, because you're trying to raise $1 million to find a cure for pancreatic cancer, let's get started by introducing our audience to you. Tell us, Julie, where were you born? Something about your childhood.
I was actually born in Santa Monica, California, where I'm from. I still live there. I'm one of the few native Californians left. And I have an older sister, and we still live in Santa Monica. And now I have two grown kids, and we're all excited and living life to the fullest.
But gosh, as a child, were you, especially in California, were you active, very active, running around?
You know, that's a great question. I did like to run when I was a little kid, but very quickly, in my teenage years, I sort of got away from that and went the other direction, turned into sort of a party mom, if you will, a young single mom, and was overweight, was on antidepressants, and I didn't really start running until I was about 37.
Did something happen that was a milestone?
I went on a vacation with my family in Hawaii, and I started running on the beach, and I just started to feel alive again. I started to feel this amazing energy, and so I made a pact with myself that when I got home, I would continue to run, and did one better. I got off of those supercharged antidepressants that I didn't need anymore, lost about 35 pounds, and then my girlfriend said, hey, let's sign up for a triathlon. So I did, and as soon as I crossed that finish line, I was hooked.
What about your dad? He passed away at about the same time?
Sadly, my dad did pass away from pancreatic cancer, but he was so proud of me when I started running. There was really nothing like the joy he got when he saw me run.
Okay.
So he was always my biggest fan, and it was a dream of ours for him to see me qualify for the Boston Marathon. So, you know, I ran my first marathon in 2008, which was the Los Angeles Marathon, and I did, you know, I thought I was going to qualify right away, but took me, I think, 18 tries till I even got close to qualifying, which is when I called David.
He became your coach?
That's right.
First your coach?
Right.
Well, and your dad, when did he pass away?
It was very sad, and it was in November of 2010, where I had another race coming up, the Sacramento Marathon, and I said, you know, I was going to qualify there because I had just missed it, just like 2 weeks ago. I just missed it, but I said, that's okay, Dad. He was diagnosed with this deadly disease, and I said, don't worry, you're going to beat it, and you're going to come to Sacramento, and you're going to see me qualify there. And sadly, he didn't make it. He passed away just 10 days before I ran that race, and I ran that race in Sacramento on December 5th, and I qualified for Boston that day.
Gosh.
And I get goosebumps every time I tell that story, because I know that he was with me.
Yes.
He was the wind at my back.
Pancreatic cancer is such a deadly disease. A lot of people are able to sustain themselves for an event, and obviously he wanted to see you so much to qualify, but that deadly disease just took him away from you.
35 days after his diagnosis, he passed away.
That's why it's a rapidly moving disease.
Right.
Wow. Now you mentioned David. Let's bring him in. You said you weren't getting closer to that Boston qualifier after 18 or so. So did you find his book, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Marathon Training, as your Bible?
You know, he was actually writing that book when I called him, and he said, I don't have time to train you right now. I'm writing this book. It's something like that. Is that what happened?
That's exactly, yeah.
So pick up the story from there, David.
Oh, and the book actually came out after we started dating, and she qualified and all that stuff. Yeah, we actually met on a hill. I was running with the LA Running Club, and she was just running on her own. We were going up a hill, and she was passing me by, and she said hi, or I said hi, or something. And we started talking, and then she just kept going. And it was like a couple weeks later where we were introduced at a big political running event for the LA Marathon. They were trying to get permits for Santa Monica for the first time. And that's where we started talking, in a dark parking lot with hundreds of runners.
Okay. Was she picking your brain on running, or?
You know, I don't really remember. We just started talking. It was one of those things. We talked. I think everyone had kind of left, and we were still in an empty, dark parking lot for like an hour or so. It was just chatting away about everything. Okay. So yeah, it was nice.
And then you took on the challenge of helping train her?
That came later. Yeah, that came later. Yeah.
And you said no.
At first, I had to say no because I was working full time and writing this book after hours, and I didn't even have time to run myself for 5-6 months.
Okay, but so, what inspired you to write the book? Obviously, it wasn't Julie at that point.
Right, true. You know, the funny thing is it was an opportunity. You know, books don't pay vast sums of money for these textbook things, but it was something I realized as a coach would be an amazing tool for me to have. And the opportunity came along, and we pitched some stuff that I had written, and they loved it, and the rest is history. And we said, great, my partner and I, co-author and I, and it worked. It's done.
What year was that book written?
May 2011, I think it was. Oh. Something like that. So not that old.
And it's done reasonably well. I mean, does it come out with reprints and all that? The movie going to be done?
Well, it's a textbook, so the movie would be really boring. You know, I mean, there's no story. It's just how to run a marathon. But it's done well. Yeah, we're pleased with it, and you can still get it at Amazon.com or electric version or paper or whatever.
Okay. So when the book came out, you guys were dating. When did it become serious?
When I ran the Boston Marathon,
because you qualified.
Believe, yeah, in 2011, he came along to just cheer me on. I'm like, wow, David's coming all the way to Boston just to cheer me on. And
that was a big clue there, huh?
And even when he was coaching me, I kind of knew there was something more. There could be something more. And after Boston, I think we just kind of clicked, and we just started hanging out. He was done with the book. He actually had time for me.
Well, that was important, to have time.
Go figure.
Wow.
And yeah.
Now, you're known as the Marathon Goddess. How did you get that interesting nickname?
Well, that's a great question. I actually saw the name Marathon Goddess on a shirt at a race expo, and I said, that's an amazing name. I have to buy that shirt. I love it. And so I checked to see if the name was available, and it was, so I actually trademarked it. And that's really before I knew I was a marathon goddess. It was before my dad passed away. It was just that I was running so many marathons. I think I had run 12 in 1 year at one point because I was trying to qualify for Boston, and I'm like, that's a wonderful name. But it really evolved more into, not about me, but more into being a goddess of whatever it is you love to do. So, you know, you could be a goddess of gardening, you could be a cooking goddess, you know. So it's really just letting your spirit shine through and embracing that god or goddess within us all. And so
you said you did 12 marathons in 1 year and you tried to make Boston. That sounds like not the right way to do it, right? That's too much running.
Ignorant. I was doing all my racing at race pace, and I had no idea, really. I thought the more marathons you ran, the faster you would get, which is why I finally called David, and he helped me and slowed me down.
So with that to take away, the best thing to do was to take it easier. So are you down in terms of the number of marathons or the way you started out?
Basically, I think I had no aerobic base. I was doing everything, all of my running was at race pace, so I had no base. So when I finished a marathon, my legs were just done, you know. And so he helped me by creating, you know, he took me down to like an 11-minute pace, you know, running at a very low heart rate for about 3 months, and I said, this better work. I didn't believe him that it was going to work. And then gradually we added the speed work, and lo and behold, I qualified for Boston with 3 hours and 47 minutes, and that's still my PR to this day.
What was the process, that turnover from one speed Julie to a multifaceted runner? Did it take 3 months? Did it take a year?
I think at first you wanted to hit me because I was asking you to go so slow you couldn't stand it.
Yeah, it was very frustrating. It was really frustrating. But
it was a process. That
yeah,
you had to...
he got me a heart rate monitor, and I had to make sure I wasn't going over like 135 or something like that. And every time I would go over that, I would have to walk. I should probably do that again if I want to qualify again, because I've been trying to do that again. Okay. But it was about, I think, maybe 4 to 6 months it took for me to...
Our audience would be interested in knowing, what does it take to become a, one speed-minded person to a multifaceted.
Right.
You got all the different elements going into it, including rest.
That's right, about 4 to 6 months and rest and no marathons in between there. But, and, just really following your training schedule and being... being persistent and believing in yourself and all of that good stuff. Right. So it was a 20-minute PR when I qualified.
Excellent. Current quest is to do 100 marathons and also raise $1 million to help find a cure for pancreatic cancer. So when did this quest of the 100, or this challenge of the 100 marathons start?
Well, I didn't realize how close I was to 100 marathons. In 2012, when I set out to run 52 marathons in 52 weeks to raise $1 million back then for pancreatic cancer, I think I started with 25 marathons, so I was already up to 25. So then I ran the 52 marathons in 52 weeks.
And David was there with you?
David was, yeah, thankfully, about 40 of them.
40 of them, so he was your personal crew.
Yeah, he was amazing and still is. And so
I carried the luggage.
He's amazing. And so then when I finished the 52, I realized, I'm really close. I was at about 80 or something like that.
So why not make it an even 100?
And exactly, to raise more awareness for pancreatic cancer. I'm over $300,000 in donations through my website, marathongoddess.com, and now I'm running with Project Purple, which is an amazing charity whose tagline is running to beat pancreatic cancer.
Right. I had its founder, Dino, here a few months ago. We were honoring the memory of Laurie Harris. She is our local marathon goddess, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago from this deadly disease. So I understand you'll be running on Sunday in her honor?
That's right. I actually met Laurie on Facebook maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I was so surprised and saddened to hear that she had the cancer, because she looked so vibrant and so healthy and just this beautiful goddess with the hair, and I just kind of instantly connected with her. And I was so sad to hear that she passed away. And in coming to New York this year, I know that they had the Laurie Harris 5K with Project Purple, and I thought, I'm going to dedicate this marathon to her. It's perfect. It's fitting. Somehow, maybe, she'll be with us running.
You're going to have plenty of company. She was a member of the New York Flyers, and the New York Flyers has a very big presence at the marathon, both as volunteers. You have to go to their volunteer table. They can give you the proper hugs and so forth. Yeah, the 5K is the 3rd annual one, which just held on Roosevelt Island, which is a beautiful place to have a 5K. And I was there as a volunteer. Laurie, I never met her personally, but I met her family, and they're very special people. So they're very honored that you would do this in her memory. But thank you so much on their behalf.
Thank you. It's actually an honor for me to run in her memory.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. But David, sounds like you coach many marathoner runners.
Yeah.
What does it take for a runner that wants to emulate a Julie, to do back-to-back marathons?
She woke up one morning and said, "Can I do this?" She had this epiphany, 52 marathons, 52 weeks, and she said, "Can I do this? Is it physically possible?" And I said, well, I thought about it a second. I said, well, you're going to need way more protein in your diet, because she's a vegetarian. So right there, that's already a problem. You're going to need to do a little strength training beforehand, because your joints are going to be under a lot more stress. You're going to need to slow it down. because you're just going to utilize way too much glycogen and minerals and all sorts of stuff, and too much pounding. So you're going to immediately need to slow it down, take it easier to get through the course of each one. We've theorized about an hour and a half slower. She was doing about 3-hour, 50-minute marathons.
Okay, that's on the floor, so you need to go to about 5:30?
Exactly. So for her to say, oh, I'm going to do a 5:30, that was like ripping her hair out, you know, I mean.
You didn't want to be on that course for that long.
Yeah, no, no. But there was a whole slew of things like that to get her to finish 52 marathons. At first, actually, there were some hit and misses. We thought, well, you know, you can't run midweek because it's all about recovery. Yeah, so there's no, the joke was, I'm not a runner anymore, I just do marathons. So
every weekend,
I don't train, yeah, I just run marathons.
But we threw in the water at first, the first week, and had to run in water, so there was no pounding, but there was still resistance.
Deep water running?
We do water running with the the running vest on, you know, aqua jogger. And it was cold and uncomfortable, and we said, all right, forget that. But so then it was just nothing and massage and stretching.
You still remain loyal to your vegan, right? It was because a lot of marathoners are vegans, like Scott Jurek.
Right.
You know, he's the best ultra-marathoner in the world, and he's totally vegan.
Yeah.
So it is quite possible. So how did, in protein, so what do you do, eat more spinach? I mean, where does protein come?
It takes a lot of discipline to do, and I'm not very good at it because, you know, there's so many temptations out there. But I do my best, and I get most of my protein through protein shakes, protein powder, like Vega protein is all plant-based protein. And I think it was, I'm told I need something like 70 grams of protein a day, especially when you're doing that many marathons. It's like half of your body weight for a woman. And I just gave my weight away, but that's okay. That's okay.
Doesn't matter. Most women would love to have the kind of shape you're in.
Thank you.
To be able to do all these marathons.
Thank you. So protein was a big part of recovery. I had to have my protein shake after each marathon, and it's hard though because you're in the airport, and you know I was also working full time. So as soon as the marathon was over, I'd have to jump on a plane and get back to work, and you're tempted by the pizza and the French fries and. You know, and it's like, I'm starving, you know, so you have to be prepared.
What kind of work do you do that were obviously very supportive of you going away for these weekends?
Yeah, that's true. My bosses were really nice. I'm an accountant for a commercial real estate company, so, you know, I have to pay the bills somehow.
Okay,
so
good with the numbers.
They also have donated probably close to $90,000 towards my goal. So they're very supportive.
Excellent.
They're just like, don't do another 52 marathons, though, please.
In 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have no regrets?
No regrets.
Okay.
No regrets.
For all those 52, there must have been at least one where you didn't quite make it, but somehow you did.
Every single time I knew I was going to make it. I mean, there was some really dark mornings that, I mean, pitch dark, and also dark in my mind where I'm like, I can't get up. You know, there's some back-to-back marathons that I had to do. I don't want to get up. I don't want to do this. But then I quickly thought about the people that I was running for. Every single marathon I ran, I dedicated to somebody who was battling pancreatic cancer, somebody who had passed away. And so my fight compared to their fight was nothing. So
that's what got you out of bed.
Absolutely.
And then you have this mantra, we got this.
We got this.
And that became your catchphrase.
That's right. And if I ever complete my book, that's the title of it.
We Got This. It's by Julie Weiss.
Not David Levine, yes.
Okay.
She actually did 3 marathons in 3 days, the Tahoe Triple.
A triple, that's amazing. That must have been, of the 52, was there 1 or 2 that were really amazing, memorable for whatever reason?
There's so many amazing ones, and I think about the ones that I ran with a survivor, and we crossed the finish line together.
Half Moon Bay?
Half Moon Bay, yeah, when Paul Perkovic, he met me at mile 26, and we held hands, and we crossed the finish line together. You know, marathons like that are just so memorable. And, of course, the 52nd marathon, the Los Angeles Marathon in 2013, when I crossed the finish line with David and with all of my team.
Did you run, or we just there at the finish line?
That one I did run.
Oh, cool.
That one I did run.
So you ran a few of them with her?
Let's see. I ran 3.5. 3.5. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, a dedicated crew.
Yeah, that's his name.
Oh, right.
Right.
Well, listen, I mentioned at the beginning that you were one of the 7 runners for this called Spirit of the Marathon 2. So that was the Rome Marathon, I believe. Tell us that story.
That turned out to be the first marathon of the 52 marathons. Yeah.
Ah.
So I really had no idea what I was getting into when this movie was filmed. I thought to myself, I'm going to run 52 marathons in 52 weeks. I'm going to raise $1 million and it's going to be awesome. You know, I really was no clue until I got to about marathon 4 or 5, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Okay.
But David was coaching the producer, which is how she heard about my story. And we met and we interviewed, and I thought that I had completely bombed the interview, but they ended up calling me back, and they told me I was in. And so a few months later, we were off to the Rome Marathon, Maratona di Roma.
The marathon is the biggest, totally peaceful community activity in human history.
And it was such an incredible experience to be there.
What a great place to start.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and to be part of a great franchise, the Spirit of the Marathon. I mean, you couldn't get any higher than that.
Mm.
We hit a home run. The first 4 marathons were kind of like a shock to my body. And then I think it was marathon 4 or 5 when I realized I need to be running these marathons for these people.
Right,
this is not about me. This is not about the marathon. This is for the people that I'm
That's
running
right.
for.
You're not doing Boston qualifiers. Like David said, you have to do that 90 minutes slower, that 5.5 hours
It's
consistently, week after week. And that trip, oh my gosh, well, that's an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you.
Now, you're here today because you're going to run New York on Sunday, and that's going to be marathon number 96.
That's right.
So you're getting closer and closer.
I'm getting closer to 100. So
100. Now, what happens when you hit 100?
I think I'm going to take a little rest. I'm actually looking forward to it. My body is telling me, okay, Julie, you can stop running now for a while.
Maybe go back to Hawaii or whatever.
Absolutely.
Or maybe David has plans that he hasn't shared with you yet.
Oh.
Triathlon.
Or, you know, half marathons, but I really would love to get the book out.
We got this as your bio, or what is it about?
Basically, it is. I mean, it's about the 52 marathons. It's a love story. It's a story of adventure and love and how anybody can really do an act of greatness, you know, something that speaks to your heart and just to really go for it.
And what's the timetable? When do you think it'll come out?
Gosh, if I really work hard, I hope to have it at least available for pre-order by my 100th marathon. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and I need to get back to work.
Where's the 100th going to be?
In Los Angeles. The LA Marathon will be my 100th marathon. It was my first.
Was it deliberate like that, or just coincidence?
Yeah, no, I planned it. It was the first. It was also my 52nd marathon in 52 weeks. And David and I got engaged at the finish line this year at the LA Marathon. So next year it will now be my 100th. So it's always something big. Yeah, it's.
You got this.
We got this. So that's the plan.
All right.
5 more.
5 more. 96, 97, 98. You were right. You're an accountant. So when you started, did you have any idea how much it was going to cost you to do this? And not only in terms of time, but in actual money coming out?
We're still paying. No, it got really expensive, but I was very grateful for the charity that I was running for at the time. They stepped in and paid for most of the travel, so that was awesome. But there was still a fair amount that came out of our pockets because they didn't pay for David. So, you know, David and...
Didn't pay for your crew, huh?
Yeah, but now...
Yeah, you got food and you got
it's a lot
hair. And you're a goddess, so you've probably goddess stuff to do.
Eyelashes.
Oh, but perhaps Perhaps, do you do speaking tours? Perhaps some of that would compensate you for it?
I'm working on that, and the book will help. I've done some motivational speaking. I love to do that. I love to inspire the audience. I love to inspire people to do whatever is in your heart, to have the courage to come out and do it.
You have a great story, particularly when you said you were antidepressant and running a cured that from you. Do you recall why you were depressed? Because you were just a teenager?
Right. I was a single young mom just going through the motions of daily life with my 2 kids, and I just felt stuck. And we were just, eating Burger King and fast food every night and pizza.
So your diet was terrible?
Diet was terrible, no exercise, and I knew something was missing.
Okay. And you had an epiphany that said that Hawaiian trip, I mean, that's a beautiful place. Let me give running a try, and then you just took from there.
That's right.
And then today, you're healthy. You're doing Marathon 96. You've got a great husband and David here.
Thank you.
You've got a book coming out. What's left in the future? Besides, hopefully, you finally run cancer out of town.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, let's put pancreatic cancer out of business. And then, then I can stop raising money for that and just focus on, living your best life ever. Really living, coming out and living. And for those scientists out there, even who can go back and I can inspire them to go back into the lab and work harder and find that cure. And so hopefully these people will have a fighting chance.
Oh my gosh! And if they find a cure for one, it'll probably the others will perhaps be the domino effect. You hope.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
Who knows?
So I also wanted to say about Project Purple, it's really an honor to be running with them now, as they're the official charity for the New York Marathon, the Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, Dallas, Lincoln Marathon, and they're doing amazing things.
They're relatively young, right? It's only about 4 years old.
Yeah.
And over 300,000 raised for the New York Marathon. This is their biggest ever, and they are just really helping change the course of this disease.
Great. Well, it's just one of their spokesperson, runners. They can only go where, the sky's the limit.
That's right. I think we got it all. You can follow me on marathongoddess.com, also Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and follow my journey to 100 marathons and beyond.
And beyond.
And beyond.
Thank you so much for you both coming in.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
That was very...